go. Okay, good. Camera's acting up. All right. So, let me go back because I just screwed that up. Okay. Its attitudinal cause is similar to overall attitude causing cancer of the skin, which is hatred for the way one presents itself outwardly to others. All right? It's very, very important that you are gentle with your healing. All right? And once you know why some of these things happen, like, for example, these skin disorders are a direct reflection to how you feel about yourself or how you view yourself. All right? Now that you know this, you have to do something to change your self-image, the how you view yourself. Okay? You're not doing it for anybody else's, and that's the thing. A lot of time we're doing things because we're looking for the approval of others, right? And it's really difficult. Where we get into this, the mind fuck is thinking that actually matters. Like because we're trying to impress somebody else or seek someone else's approval, we totally neglect ourselves, right? Because what we're trying to do to impress somebody may not even be us, right? So that's where the mind fuck happens. It's like you're doing something and you don't even know the people that you're trying to get approval from, or the people that you trying to get approval from or don't even care about you. Like, they could care less about you, right? So in your mind, you're going back and forth with this, like, I'm trying to get everybody's approval and make sure they like this and make sure they like that. But it's not happening, so you become disgusted with your own self-image, with your own efforts to better yourself. You become disgusted with, and it's like, no, the only thing that matters is if you feel good about you. Do you like the clothes that you have on? Do you like the way you look, right? And if you don't, then that's your cue to do something about it. If you, a lot of people body shame themselves, right? Because, just a lack of knowledge, right? Go work out, right? Start making better eating habits, right? Start making better decisions about the food that you eat, right? So there's things that you can do, but if you never, come to that knowledge, then, here on this video, I'm telling you that you, in order to improve your self-image, you have to be satisfied with you first. Okay. So you are fine the way that you are. I'll let you hear me say it. Okay. There's nothing wrong with you. All right. You're not ugly. You're not fat. You're none of that shit everybody calls you, or they make fun of you. Like I said, these things are temporary too, because the ugly duckling turned into a beautiful swan. Google that story. All right. Everybody talked about the ugly duckling and all that good stuff when she was young, and she had funny colors and all this kind of stuff. She looked different, right? But when she grew up, right, they saw her come from around the corner, in the pond or lake or wherever she was. She turned into a beautiful swan, and everybody was like, "What? That's the ugly duckling? Wow! She's a beast with it now. She's beautiful, right?" So that's temporary. Even your all those naysayers, the people that talk negative about you, or they have a situation, the husbands, the wives, the boyfriends, the girlfriends, the family members, who cares? Okay? Who cares? Don't worry about that, all right? You have to be comfortable about the way you present yourself first, all right? Let me see. Scleroderma. Scleroderma falls under the same category of attitudes affecting the skin. In this case, the attitude is defensiveness that is practiced in the way one expresses to another. Many times this person will be gruff and overbearing, directing their anger outwardly at others. The mental attitude for the disorder of an excessive appetite is having desires you want to fulfill, but feeling you can't have those desires. Compare this with the thought processes involved with being overweight, which is due to unfulfilled desires. Therefore, you see that an attitude which produces an excessive appetite leads to an overweight body, thus perpetuating a vicious cycle that is often difficult to break. All right? So, wow. I would have never thought that somebody's lack of fulfilled desires will cause them to be overweight. But now that I think about it, it makes so much sense. Wow. Yeah, that's a lot. So we got about 10 minutes left, so let me finish reading some more of it. Asthma is an illness of major proportion, right? Many people who have asthma feel they have to live with it for the rest of their lives. Asthma is created by denying the desires of self, capital SELF. There is a fear of loss of freedom that comes from feeling trapped, and that one is incapable of fulfilling one's own desires, right? So unfulfilled desires is a big thing when it comes to obesity, asthma, these things that affect the lungs, right? Which brings us back to the dopamine and serotonin secretion, right? And how to get those things going. Kamisha says, "Wow, it's right." Exactly. Those unfulfilled desires and asthma. So if here's the thing. Let me try to put this together. So if you have unfulfilled desires, I can see how that suppresses the body. So because you have an unfulfilled desire, you may tend to slump. Ergonomically, you may tend to slump, and the breathing pattern is affected when you don't sit up straight. When you drive in the car, you're slumped over because you're depressed about whatever, right? And asthma is it's a disorder where your breathing is hindered, because there's a great deal of mucus built up, and you have trouble breathing, or you wheeze, or things of that nature. Because I used to, as a child, I had asthma, so I know what it feels like. And you have to have the inhaler and breathe in and all that good stuff, because you literally feel trapped. And because you have unfulfilled desires, wow, that's so. Working out, running, jogging, lifting weights, it increases the heart rate, therefore expanding the breathing rate, right? Your lungs are going to expand, right? And air is going to get in there. You're going to process, move that mucus around that's kind of set on the lungs because you slumped over. The lack of movement in the body, the lack of air going through the lungs, right, will set up that wheezing, that type of, I can see it. I can put it together in my mind. Hopefully it makes sense to y'all, but it definitely makes sense to me, because now I can pretty much understand how that happens. But when we sit up straight, when we have some activity in our life that causes our heart rate to speed up, therefore we speed up our breathing, and therefore it's like a flush You know, you go work out or you get a good run or good sprint in, good jog in, and you're breathing deep. You know, you're exhaling and inhaling air, and that stuff is happening, right? So, wow. Yeah, I would have never guessed unfulfilled desires would be a cause of obesity and asthma. So, if you desire to do something, by all means do it. As long as it's not hurting anybody or breaking the law, I would do it. Like, I would definitely do it. If you have a desire to do something or be something, right? And a lot of times that is because, our parents have held us back, right? If you backtrack the story of somebody who has asthma, now just ask them, like, what, just ask them, hey, what have you always wanted to do and you've never done? And they'll probably start out with, as a child, I always wanted to be this, or I always wanted to do that, but my parents wouldn't let me, right? Because me, for example, I always wanted to play football at an early age, right? Like, I wanted to play like when I was like 5, but my mom didn't want me to get hurt. But because of that, she didn't want me to get hurt. She didn't let me play, right? Until I got a certain age, and I was upset. Like, I was really hurt by that, right? And I went into a depression. I was tore up behind that. I wanted to play football, but she made me wait until, like, I think I was 9 or 10 years old before I started playing football. And that was, now I'm over it now, but I did have that feeling of entrapment, or that feeling of I can't do what I want to do, right? And that wasn't just because, wham, I'm a spoiled brat. I want to, I want to play football no matter what. It really was something that was near and dear to my heart, and because I wasn't able to do it, it did affect me. I did have, and even growing up, because I didn't play or start early, it was different. Like, the other boys were better at football than I was, because they had been playing ever since they were 5 years old. So they had like a 4 or 5 year jump on me, right? So that affected me, And in the back of my mind, I always felt like, if they would have let me play earlier, then I would be this or I would be that. So I had, so because of that, I had to get over those humps, and I did, and it was great. And I ended up, I played ball. I played on the high school level, college ball, and I played semi-pro. So, I fulfilled that, that desire. So now I don't have asthma. I can breathe. My lungs work fine. I sit up straight, the whole nine. So definitely. That's good. So let me get you some little more. I got some more time. So compare the mental attitude disorder for asthma with that of bronchitis. The common thread is, once again, the true desires of self are not being fulfilled. However, with bronchitis, there is the additional factor of blaming others for one's own lack of desire fulfillment. It is the blame and resulting anger which create the inflammation associated with bronchitis. Ooh, okay. The mental attitude disorder resulting in respiratory system problems is restriction, creating emotional repression from not fulfilling desires. There is usually a lack of verbalization, the real, true, and often secret desires of oneself. All right. This creates restriction. Our physical bodies need air to sustain life. Without air or oxygen, we would not survive very long. Therefore, mental restriction often shows up in the respiratory system first. All right. That's a mouthful. All right. And I told you this book was good. Like, I told you this book was good. Like, I read this book last year, and like, I really, I see it completely different now. I see it completely different now. It's like a completely different book. You know, some of the things are familiar and some of the things are not, because my mind wasn't where it is now. Like my awareness wasn't, you know, like it is now. So I wasn't there mentally to really appreciate the book. But now, wow. So here we go. The common cold will often restrict the breath and clog the respiratory system. The thought pattern called indecision restricts, for if one refuses to choose, there can be no movement forward towards one's goal, thus stifling the ability to receive. This creates restriction. Mononucleosis is also the result of indecision, but with the specificity of having been practiced over a long period of time over a particular issue. At times when the lymphatic system is weak or in disarray, the attitude of defensiveness and self-pity is present. The thought of being powerless to cause change is present as well. This attitude weakens the immune system. Such a person may see himself as a child who is at mercy of the adults in the environment for his own wants, needs, and protection. All right. Sinusitis fits into this category as well. So, guys, you know, I'm gonna stop right there, and we can pick up tomorrow, and I'll do a part 3, and I'll go as long as we need to go. We'll probably get maybe two more parts out of this, maybe 3. So I'll probably go through the whole section, just to shed some light on healing in general. Okay, guys. Like I said, it's definitely a good book to get into, permanent healing, right? So meditation for depression definitely works. So I'd be anxious to see, what you guys might say. So email me with your results, right? If you try, especially if you're watching a replay of this. My email address is marcusjjackson@hotmail.com, and let me know, or you can inbox me. Let me know how meditation and the technique of physically going back and removing yourself from a situation. Give me some feedback on that. Let me know how that worked, okay? Because that's what I recommend for my clients, and I know how it works with them. So, but I would like to see how it works with people, just random, right? So people taking that information and dealing with it, as they will. So, with that being said, I am going to go ahead and let you guys go tonight. I really appreciate y'all hanging out with me for this hour. Thank you so much. Let me see if there's anything else in the comments. All right, good. All right, cool. So listen, I'll be back tomorrow night with some more info. If you are on the fence, I hope that you have made a decision to stay with us, right? You have to wait till tomorrow. If you're still on the fence, you have to wait until after the video tomorrow, okay? All right? So if you're still on the fence about suicide, you must wait until tomorrow after the video, right? And then after that video tomorrow, you got to wait the next day, right, to after that video. And then after that video, you got to wait the next day to after that video, all right? So you cannot, right? You have to wait till after the next video and the next video and the next video and the next video, all right? I love you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Live life to the fullest. Y'all take it easy. Try not to do too much. Peace.